drummers, and welcome to week 2 of this week's sort of quarantine lesson package I've got prepared. This will be the first of 2 lessons coming out this week, and this week we're going to focus more on a sort of intermediate level. Again, we're going to be sort of looking at how to get your right hand playing a nice consistent pattern while we get 16th notes. We're going to play a paradiddle style pattern between the right foot and the left hand. But once we've got that down, it sounds pretty cool just between the kick, snare and the hi-hat. We're going to move our right hand over to the ride cymbal. And then we're going to start playing with the bell of the rides. We'll play on all these sort of like downbeats, so the 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4, and then we'll see if we can swap that with 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and while we're doing that, we're then going to shift the left hand from playing all the notes on the snare drum. We're going to put each double stroke up on the high tom and then the floor tom. It sounds pretty cool. I'm sure you saw it in the intro. We're also going to sort of take it to the crash and just play quarter notes up there. And just to give it a little bit more spice and make it a little bit more tricky, and hopefully start developing some of that independence and get some cool ideas. Plus, I've used this in a couple of songs, and it's a really nice, effective pattern to get like a sort of percussive, melodic pattern coming out of the kit with a do-da-do-do-da-do-do-do-da-do-do-do-do-do. It sounds really cool, and I hope you enjoy it. So without further ado, let's dive right in. Here we go. All right, so let's break things down. First of all, just between the kick, the snare, and the hi-hat. Right hand is going to be playing 8th notes, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and underneath that we're going to play this paradiddle pattern, which will be right, left, right, left, left, except our right is going to be our right foot and then our left is going to be our left hand. And what we're going to do is basically for every hi-hat you play, you're going to get 2 notes between the kick and the snare. First time around it's going to be kick, snare, then we've got kick, kick off the next hi-hat, then snare, kick, and then snare, snare. So if we go through that nice and slowly, we've got kick, snare, kick, kick. Okay, so with that first left hand I'm playing the snare, I'm going to keep that low because when I come to whack the snare drum, which we're going to play next, that's going to provide our sort of grooves backbeat. So we're going to get this kick, snare, kick, kick. That's the first half, and then we're going to do a loud hit, snare, kick, snare, snare, and that little double at the end there is going to be nice and quiet. So if we put that together and loop it, let's just turn this down a little bit. That'll do. Kick, snare, kick, kick, snare, kick, snare, snare, right, left, left, left. Okay, like I said earlier, one note on the hi-hat is going to be 2 notes between the kick and the snare drum. If you want, you can just go through. It's going to cover every possibility you can come up with. So it's going to be right, left, or kick, snare, kick, kick, snare, kick, and then a double left as well. So let's just loop that round a few times, get nice and comfortable. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. Now I'll just play it around a few times. I won't say anything, but I'll play quite loud. So here we go. Okay, and of course when you speed this up, it sounds pretty cool as well. What you're after is that so when it comes to that left, right, left part of the paradiddle, make sure you crack that snare drum nice and hard. Obviously all the bass drums are going to be loud and proud as we go anyway. Right, the next thing we're going to do now is we're going to move our right hand from the hi-hat over to the ride cymbal. We're not going to worry about the bell of the ride just yet, but every time we get to a left, on the end of beat 2, so this is the end of the of beat 2, we're going to play the 2 notes up on the high tom, and then when we get to the end of the of beat 4, we're going to move it over to the floor tom. So we get this. Kick, snare, kick, snare, kick, tom, tom, kick, snare, kick, snare, kick, floor, floor. Tom, tom. Floor, floor. Tom, tom. Kick, snare, kick, snare, kick, tom, tom, kick, snare, kick, snare, kick, floor, floor. Again, this sounds really cool. Fast, you can if you want to just play it up on the crash cymbal as well. So I'll just do that for a round, but I'm going to play it loud and proud. It sounds great. So that is the next phase, just to get used to your left hand sort of moving around the kit while you're sort of worrying about playing all these sort of like independent notes from the right hand. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to snazz up what the right hand is doing. And what we're going to do, first of all, is going to go through playing like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. All right, so every time you're saying 1, 2, 3, 4 and, that's where you're going to hit the bell of the ride, and then the other notes is going to sort of be back on the main body of the ride cymbal. Don't forget, you want to hit that bell of the ride with that little sweet spot you got on your drumstick there, which is about the shoulder of the stick. All I tend to do, I don't know if you can see that there yet, we're not going to move the stick too far. We're going to use the tip for the quiet ones on the body, and then the actual shoulder on the bell itself. So shoulder, tip, shoulder, tip, shoulder, tip, shoulder, tip, shoulder, tip. If I was just to hit the bell of the ride with the tip, You can see there's a huge difference. I don't have to put any more swing into it. All I've got to do is just adjust which part of the stick I hit that ride cymbal with, and you'll get that sort of loud, clangy note. So let's try and add that now to our pattern. Okay, and that's going to land, the bell's going to land every time you hit the sort of right, left, right, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, right, left, right, left, left. The next thing to do is, well, actually, let's just speed that up a tiny bit. Okay, so you're essentially sort of accentuating the sort of like quarter notes there. All right, so the next thing to do now is to shift that bell of the ride on the and of each beat. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and every time this lands, it's going to be with either a double kick or a double left, and that will give you 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. Let's speed that up. And it starts sounding pretty cool. Now, what does sound really nice as well, and this is what I want you to sort of practice, is sort of like swapping between the two. And all you've got to do is like, just once you get it going, and you decide which way we're going to sort of accent with the bell of the ride on the 1s, the 2s, the 3s, the 4s, or the ands, you just stay on one side. So, I'll give a quick demonstration. So, I'll start off on the quarter notes, and then I'll move to the and of each beat. It does, it gives a nice little shift in like the flow or the feel of the groove, even though you're not changing anything other than the voicing on the ride cymbal. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to learn to play this particular pattern with just quarter notes on the hi-hat. So much like we did with the first two videos where we looked at playing with eighth notes, it does, when you then shift to just playing quarter notes, it gives you a lot more space in between those notes with the right hand. Sometimes you're going to rely on landing with your right hand for the groove to feel comfortable, and so we're going to take that away and see if we can learn to sort of have our right foot and left hand sort of working a bit more independently without that reliance of the right hand landing with either the start of the double or the right left or the left right. So let's just start on the hi-hat nice and quiet, and then I'm going to shift it over to the crash where it sounds quite sort of heavy rock, metally sort of vibe. So here we go. It doesn't actually take too long to practice this because it's actually quite a short little pattern. So what you've got to do first of all is get right, left, right, and then left, right, left, left. Okay, again, I wouldn't necessarily play this in a situation where the groove's quite slow, but if it's quite fast, you're going to chuck your right hand up to the crash, and it sounds pretty cool. So here we go. We do the same thing, I'll bring those toms in. And there are patterns. So one thing you can do, it sounds really nice, if you've got like a main groove going here, sound nice where you've got sort of like a lot more space and a much more open groove where you're playing slightly less notes, and then you swap over to this one where every single 16th note is covered and you're playing this little solid 16th note pattern. Underneath it's going to give a little more urgency, especially when you move that right hand to the crash, it gives it a bit more power as well. And of course you've got that little bit of trickery you can play with the groove just by sort of shifting whether the bell of the ride lands on the 1s, the 2s, the 3s and the 4s, or the 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So it does give you a lot of mileage in terms of ways you can use this. And of course you don't have to necessarily use this paradiddle pattern. I just thought it would be quite a nice way to something familiar. Obviously the paradiddle is quite an important little pattern to learn, and it can bring in the toms quite easily in a nice consistent sort of like sequence. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to pop up there. I'm going to put together a nice little 4-bar sequence where we start off. Well, I'll make it 8. It'll be a 4-pattern sequence. So we'll start off just playing the basic groove on the hi-hats. And then I'm going to shift over to playing the bell on the 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s with the toms. Do the same thing with the 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then we'll keep the left hand going to the toms, but then we'll then be smashing that crash. In fact, I'll just go through it here quickly. That's the sequence. We're going to go through a number of different speeds. Obviously, it's a little bit more effective when it's faster, and that's where it gets a bit more challenging. And don't forget, always try and keep any note with your left hand that isn't that big crack on beat 2 or beat 4. Keep them all ghosted, okay? So you just want to aim for that sort of like no more than about 1.5 inches away from the snare drum. Okay, and the lower you can keep it and the more control you can have while it's down there, still maintaining the clarity of each sort of like hit. The more efficient you're going to be at getting quicker, and the smoother you can play it, the nicer it's going to sound, and all good stuff like that. So what I'm going to do is I'll pop up there, I'll demonstrate it, and then we'll wrap things up. So here we go. Nice and slow, we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go a little bit faster. 1, 2, 3. All right, guys, so there it is. I hope you enjoyed that lesson. It's a real fun exercise to sink your teeth into. It's got a little bit of everything, sort of teaches you a little bit more independence, like we've been working on with some of the sort of beginner level lessons we've released so far. Obviously, this takes it to a slightly higher level where we start to introduce more sort of dynamics. Obviously, when you're playing those paradiddles, you want to keep everything that is not beat 2 and 4 nice and ghostly or quiet with that left hand on there. So it teaches you a little bit about dynamic on the snare drum. Obviously, keep your foot nice and loud. Getting that left hand moving around the kit while your right hand's playing this sort of little moving pattern between the bell and the actual body of the ride, and then of course just playing as quarter notes is going to sort of give it, give this exercise its own challenge as well. But as you agree, it does sound pretty cool, and you can sort of start hearing little places and ideas where maybe it could feature in some of the songs you're practicing or learning at the moment as well. So this will be the first of 2 lessons coming out this week. I'll probably do another like slightly more advanced one. Again, it'd be quite exercise based. We've got so much time, it'd be worth sort of going through these kind of exercises just to sort of build up our chops, build up our coordination, and then we'll move on to learning some of the songs from the grades just to see if we can improve our musicality and apply everything we've learned so far to that. All right, so until next time, take care, keep drumming. I'll see you very soon for some more sponsor exclusive lessons. That's a mouthful. All right, see you later. Bye.